It's an adventure. Let's call it that.
Yes, indeed,
Let's call
indeed.
it that.
A misadventure in technology.
All right, because you're a voice actor. Like you can do all the accents and everything, or
Some of them.
because I was never able to do much accents. Like I can't do a British accent or.
You just gotta, you just gotta watch. I watched a lot of Red Dwarf. You know that show?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I never watched it, but I know what it is.
It's so good. And then
It's
they just did a recent batch, and like they're even like they got really good at it. You know, some comedians or some shows they try to come back and it's just shit. They've like elevated their jokes to another level. It's nuts.
wow. But what
Yeah,
was it? What kind of show was it? Because I think I always get that one mixed up with Spaced from Edgar Wright. Because
no, it's
like it's a sci-fi thing, right?
yeah, it's three guys in space. Actually, technically, it's two guys and a cat who's evolved into a human. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah, they're 3 million years or 300 million years in the future, and Earth is gone. So they're trying to find Earth. They're trying to. Yeah, it's a really cool show. It's. I
Okay.
mean, that doesn't really. But yeah,
So we're live right now. I just skipped the intro part because I imagine the
yeah,
people just listen to
yeah,
that.
yeah. Word up.
So
What's going on? About goddamn time out here trying to get this shit going. Technology. Show me technology's house. I wouldn't beat his ass.
but I kind of feel bad because I made this like beautiful and mysterious introduction about you and like telling people he's not just a comic book artist, he's also like a musician, and that's true. Like that's the thing that I know less about you. I know you mostly for your comics and for like every time we saw each other like at Comic-Con or stuff like that. But it's just recently, like in the last couple of let's say months, that I saw and I heard your music, and goddamn, like I never heard anything that sounds like that. And like for people who don't know, there's links below, but on your Instagram, you post a couple of videos and like you create your own instruments.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of happened, and then like it. It's funny. I created. It's the. Where is it? Do I have it here? Yeah. Well, this is one of the older ones, but this is a Lateef Bite Carp, and it's basically a guitar rim with strings and guitar tuners.
Right.
And I usually plug this in. Like I play it with my fingers. You can't really hear it because it's not plugged in. But I came up with this concept before Xyle. But it just so happened that Xyle and bikes and this is like it's become the signature instrument of the comic in the world. So it's just kind of funny how that all came together.
But like I don't even know where to start with that because, like you said, it's not plugged in, so it kind of functions like a electric guitar, right?
Oh yeah, I have a contact mic on this. Sorry, I should have made that clear. I have a contact mic on that one. I built another one with six with pickups, so you can jack it right. Because I was tired of like fiddling around with the I have to put the tape with the contact mic and it gets loose and I'm like, oh my god, let me just build an electric one. So I built an electric one that has guitar pickups on it and like volumes and stuff like that, and that works okay. Yeah.
That for me,
So
that sounds like alien technology. Like I don't even. It's kind of like like when you buy like old CDs, like you don't, or even like a telephone or whatever, like technology that we're used to every day, and you don't even understand like the proceedings to get to there. Like I can't even imagine you like building this instrument and saying like, oh, I'll just use guitar pickups and like how'd you get to that point? Like, were you like tinkling with that stuff like since you were a kid and just like trying to different things or?
I was playing with Transformers and Lego,
Right, right. Okay,
and
so
then remember yeah, and our generation, like we had to like when you had like a tape, a cassette tape, and it was messed up. you have to do open heart surgery, right? You have to open the screws up, you have to take up the, and like the two tape and try to use the paper, the stick glue to put the tape together and then put it back in and don't flip them. So there's all these little things, you know. So I tinkered a lot with stuff, like the clip pens. I used
Mm-hmm.
to like take them apart and like reconfigure them into like the little shooters. So just tinkering a lot with stuff kind of made me, I guess, more apt to be able to like, okay, I can understand how to break something apart. I should be able to put it back together, and maybe put something else back together. So I guess that's what it is. Just like playing with toys.
But I guess like kids like you are extremely rare because like you talk about it like like when we were kids we used to do that, but like I had a lot of friends when I was a kid, but I only knew one other kid that would do that kind of thing, and I think it's like a engineering mind, or you want to reverse engineer what you play with, what you because me with Legos, I just like build like forts for my He-Man action figures, or like I was interested in just like building sets, but not necessarily like understanding and building machines and and stuff like that.
Oh
So
yeah,
so you
yeah. I
were
mean, as a kid, yeah,
you were a
yeah. No, I
nerdy
mean, as
kid.
a yeah, I guess so. I was building like enterprises out of Lego. That was always like anytime I got Lego. That's the thing. I mean, cool. I got the Ghostbuster thing here. It's all good. Ecto one, yay, fun. But when I was a kid, you had to make this with just the blocks. There
Yeah.
weren't like specialized pieces and shit. There weren't logos. I found the Lego back when I was a kid. You had to be more creative because they had windows and wheels. Ooh, but
Yeah, yeah,
they didn't have. I mean, yeah. I mean, they had sets, but I was never interested in the sets. I was like, what's the point? I want to like build it from scratch on my own and come up with it my own way. Maybe that's it. It wasn't so much about like, ooh, I want the pirate ship set. I'm like, just give me Legos, I'll build a pirate ship. You know?
but what I think what fascinates me the most is like usually like people like that like are really science oriented and not so much art oriented. So it's that's what I find like unique about you is like you got both. Like you're as much as an accomplished artist as you are like a engineer almost. Like I just read like recently like you had started doing a face mask with your 3D printer. Like
Yeah,
that
that was all Serp's fault.
for me
That was all.
that sounds like only Tony Stark could do that stuff. Like I don't even understand how you get to that point.
Well, I mean, okay. I mean, it's all baby steps. Like, there's a shop in St. Henry called Helios Makerspace.
Mm-hmm.
It's a co-op workshop, and actually, when I started building the Lithelium there's a guy named James who's a guitar. He's like he's a luthier. He makes guitars, and he's like,
Right.
"Hey man, like it's cool. If you ever need help, with your thing," I'm like, "Yeah, no, I don't." And I'm like, "No, I'm being an idiot. This guy makes guitars. Let me talk with him." And he kind of gave me some like insight and some input on like, "Hey, maybe use this or that for the electric to make the Lithelium electric." But they had a 3D printer there, and I was like, "Oh, let me get a 3D printer." And then when Serb showed up, I'm like, I have a little extra money. Let me see if I can try to help. So I bought a really cheap 3D printer and figured and looked online. At first, I wanted to make masks, but like there was nothing that would have been, there was nothing that was officially sanctioned to be a safe mask for people. So
Right.
that was kind of out of the picture. But I had seen that this 11-year-old kid came up. No, that's another thing. But someone had come up with like they would print out the frames for the face masks, and then you buy like the plastic and you cut it, shape it, and so people were making that, and that was effective for like this face mask stuff. So I figured, okay, well, let me print up some masks,
Uh-huh.
and we reach out to some of the centers and see if they need any. So that's kind of how that happened.
That's awesome, man. That's like I comfort myself during the pandemic saying like I'm not useful to society, but at least like I'm telling stories, I can entertain people and
That's
you
useful.
just like you make me look bad, man.
No, man,
No,
no
no, no, I'm
storytelling.
just joking.
But I mean, that's the interesting thing about like I mean, don't you'll never catch me waving a flag anytime for any country,
Right.
but Canada in terms of like handling the pandemic huge gaps in them being able to like properly things. Indigenous communities are still suffering, and just anyways, there's a long laundry list of what Canada is not doing right. But one of the things that I appreciated, especially as an artist, is that they actually put money into the arts for COVID because they saw, we need art to stay sane.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that might have helped a few of us a little bit. I know it's not easy for everyone, especially musicians in live shows,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, we're storytellers, so yeah, man.
Like
Everyone needs that.
my girlfriend's in the theater, and she I don't know how you say that in English. Like she directs plays, I guess. She writes and she directs, and she had like this big project that was socially financed right before the pandemic, and
Mm,
like I'm kind of lucky because the comic book market didn't get affected as much, and actually like a lot of bookstores like went really well. But yeah, I'm thinking about like musicians, like stage people,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm gonna try to make a link between this and your comic because I never saw your shows, but I saw you in comic cons, and you always like bring one of your instruments and you always play live there, and you look like a fucking badass with a samurai gear, but that you made yourself with bike parts, and that's what happens in the comics, right? Like all the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
survivors like try to patch themselves up. Can you talk about that a bit? Like, what's the link? Like, what came first? Like the cosplay, the music, or the comic book idea?
The comic book idea came like separate from all of that. Like originally, it was Dan Buller.
No, I don't.
Oh, you should. He's one of Montreal's like best illustrators. He's amazing, and we've known each other for years. And we wanted to do a comic book together at one point. We wanted to collaborate. We just never got a chance. Like for like 10, 15 years, we've been doing our own thing. And then we were thinking, whatever happened to the serial comic? Like the little comics in the back of magazines, like 4 panels, and the next week it would be so whatever happened to that? He said, we should kind of maybe start that up again. And then so we thought, but there aren't any horror ones, so like
Mm-hmm.
maybe we could do one that's horror. And at the time we were like big fans of The Walking Dead, and we said, well, hey, let's do a zombie thing, but let's like give it our own signature flavor. Let's make it a Montreal kind of story. And then so we based it on Montreal, and we kind of like figured things out. And then I started writing stories out, and he starts reading them, and he goes, "Have you seen Lost?" I'm like, "No." He said, "You should watch Lost." So I start watching Lost, and it turns out like half the shit I came up with was already done in that show. I'm like, ah. So I was like, okay, let's put this aside. And then at that time, my girlfriend at the time, Isabelle Duguay, I told her about like, Dan and I were working on this comic book about zombies in Montreal. It was set on an island because the original concept was that it was on an island. These people kind of crash landed on an island. They didn't know a zombie apocalypse was happening, but zombies were walking across the ocean floor, and they
Yeah.
got to the island, and that's how, right? So,
Yeah,
but like I said, like
that's the first thing that surprised me when I read your comic is like, even though it's a zombie setting, there's not that much zombies in it. It's more about like the new society that builds from that and the logistics behind it.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. Because like when Isabel came on board, Dan couldn't wasn't able to continue working on it, but he did kind of set the foundation. But when Isabel came on board, we reapproached the concept of Montreal. It's an island. All the bridges are blown out, and we were looking at all our favorite zombie things, going, okay, they're cool, but if we're gonna what's different about our story? Well, let's set it 7 years after. Like, what is it like 10 years after when a kid grows up and it's normal to have zombies? So we're trying
Mm-hmm.
to think of a society that's kind of used to it and just works with it. And then we're thinking Montreal's an island of bikes. So people start
Right.
using bikes as weapons and tools and equipment and stuff. Because cars are really loud, and there's huge fires that destroyed a lot of the city. So we were thinking about how everything kind of built up the world that everyone exists in. So all these established rules are based on 7 years of having to deal with riots, mobs, cults, zombies, um, and then like going, hey, the only thing that we have left to make things out of are bikes. They're everywhere. So that's kind of where that came out. And then the cosplay just kind of how did that even happen? I'm like, oh, okay. We did an Indiegogo campaign for the comic, and we decided, let's do a short film because of my company, Miscellaneous Studios.
Yeah.
We're an entertainment company, and my goal is like for every time we work on something, it's gonna be a multimedia project. So I
Right.
said, okay, let's do a short film, and we did the cosplay for that, and like I built a bow with a friend of mine who worked in film. Her name is Benedict. She helped me make the first bike bow, and then I hired another guy at a bike shop at iBike. His name is Claude, I think so. And he helped make the other one. But the cosplay was just fun. Cosplay is a blast. And the thing I like about our cosplay is that because it's based on like real stuff, it doesn't look like costumes.
Yeah.
It's not like a fake gun or fake like axe or something. It's like, no, this is a real bike. It's a real leather jacket. The blood's not real,
Yeah.
but
And it
it's all
looks like practical, not in the sense that of being comfortable, but of like you could see that suit be turned in a fight against someone, or like in a weapon almost.
yeah,
It's really
exactly.
impressive. Like when I see you live, it's always like, and I'm always like in a hurry because I usually am behind my table, and I'll just go out for like a smoke or grab a coffee. So I'm never like available, but every time like I just freeze and I see you and like holy shit, that's so badass.
But it's funny because there's a guy. His name is Abdul. He's an actor, and he's also a bouncer at Metropolis. And
Right?
he was in Turbo Kid. He showed me a picture of him in his costume, and look a lot the similarities between Turbo Kid. That's why when I saw Turbo Kid and I saw your work, I'm like, oh my god! It's like we're doing the same thing, but like on different sides, And you also have a good feel of that's the thing for me. It's like when I design costumes, I kind of go back and forth between designing it and drawing it,
Yeah.
and you're able to kind of come up with really cool designs just by drawing it, which is a lot of fun. Like the guy with the double like
Yeah.
chainsaw. I mean, that's
The only difference is my designs don't make sense. Like they're they're just
no
like fun
need,
to
man.
look at, but
Yeah,
that's
it's great.
but that's what impressed me. Like when I read your comic, it was like you can feel that everything is thought out, and like everything could be built for real. It's not just like pretty designs to make someone look cool, and
Hmm.
and that's what I'm wondering. Like, would you build it to draw it, or would you just like draw it like loosely, and after that say like, all right, how does this work? Like, how can I build this thing for real?
It depends. Like some of the stuff I've built first and then do. Like for the video game, for example, because we're making a video game based on the comic, and
Right.
it's a music-based puzzle game, and you're making a music box out of bike parts and like found objects. So a lot of that, most of the instruments for that, actually all of them, I'm building because I'm going to be sampling the sounds for the game.
Hmm.
So in some cases, I'm building stuff first and then drawing it. In other cases, I'm just drawing it based on knowing, okay, I know this will work, or I'll have a general feel. But it's funny you say that because it reminds me of exactly why I do this. There was a Disney movie called Condor Man. Did you remember that? Did you ever see that?
Congra man? No.
Maybe you're a couple years younger than I am, but back in like the '80s or whatever, there's a movie called Condor Man, a live action movie from Disney called Condor Man, and he was a superhero. And I don't remember the full story, but the guy in this film, his thing was like, I think he wasn't originally a superhero. I think he was just an illustrator or a designer, and he figured if I create something, it's got to work in real life, and that's how he became a superhero. And I think that kind of stuck in the back of my head. So
Hmm.
whenever I build something or draw something, it has to make sense. It has to work in the real world. You know?
Actually, now that you mention it, I think I know what it is. And I got it always confused with Birdman, not the recent Birdman, but when that movie came out, I was like, yeah, it's a remake of a old Disney film,
Yeah,
and
yeah, right.
it made perfect sense for me. It was like, yeah, Michael Keaton, it's a dark and gritty reboot or whatever, but it had absolutely no link at all.
Yo, is it me or is Hollywood trolling Michael Keaton with winged characters? He's
Yeah,
played three winged characters his entire career. It's weird.
exactly, exactly. And it's funny how like the movie Birdman kind of addresses that, like not the wing thing, but like
Right.
it totally addresses that he's a failed or a has been superhero megastar,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's true that like the industry changed so much, man. Like compare like Robert Downey Jr. to Michael Keaton, even though like it was huge. Like I remember I was a kid in '89. I was
Oh my
really
god.
young, but I remember it like being everywhere. Like that Batman shirt. Like
He was the biggest thing. Yeah, it was amazing. I gotta give Tim Burton credit. He really knew how to create this buzz and sold it, and the marketing was great. It was just you just saw the bat signal on his chest, like the logo on a
yeah,
billboard. Nothing, just that. I
yeah,
remember that. I was like, holy shit! It was everywhere,
yeah.
and people were excited about
And what's strange is even today, like you can recognize that like that specific logo. Like
it.
the it's not just the bat symbol, it's the Batman 89 symbol. Like you can spot it
Yeah,
like
yeah,
right
yeah,
away on a t-shirt or
yeah.
merchandise. But you were talking about like Walking Dead and Lost. I never watched Lost, even though like I remember very well like the hype around it, and I
Mm-hmm.
watched the pilot and I thought it was amazing. But at that time, I just it was another time, but I wasn't that interested in TV shows. Like I was more
Okay, okay,
focused
okay.
on movies or comics or whatever. So was there other like influences for I forgot to ask you this. How'd you pronounce the name of the book?
It's Zyle.
That's right. That's Xyle. All right.
Français. En français, Zil.
Yeah.
I can't wait first because what the goal is to like, we're, oh my God, it's been so long, but we want to finish issue seven. And when issue seven is done, that's the end of volume one. We're going to put that together in one book because I know French readers, they more like the books as opposed to the comics.
Right.
So, but and also when you have a book, you can sell it in stores more. But ideally, we want to put all seven issues into one book, volume one, and then have a soundtrack. And the soundtrack is the music that I'll be creating from all the instruments and stuff. So that's the goal for volume one. Let me finish issue seven finally. But wow, I got to finish issue seven.
Okay. And when did the last issue come out?
A while ago.
Okay, okay.
It's been years. Issue six been years, and that's just because like generally like it's been mostly me. Isabel, like she works on the art direction and she co-writes, and we actually it's a really interesting way we work in terms of creating the comic. She kind of does it in between her own work. She's a muralist,
Mm-hmm.
so it was kind of like we have these kind of like really short bursts of like creative sessions, and then I go off. She'll come and like we'll storyboard pages together, and sometimes I'll just storyboard more of the action scenes, but she really does really cool. Like if you look at the comic, you see the layouts are very kind of like they stand out. They're a bit different than other comics, and she's not from comic books, so it kind of lends this other kind of perspective of laying things out.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
but generally it's been me. You know, you know, like her. Like, she helps out with the Comic Con. She does the booth. She paints everything, and she does a cosplay too, and she loves it. And we have a couple of friends that come in and help, but like I'm trying to run a company and do a comic book, and now we're doing a video game. We
Yeah.
did a show in 2020, sorry, 2018, a music show. I got a Canada Council grant to do that based on the music from the world of Xyle. We're doing another one next fall, not this fall, but fall 2022. That's going to be a bigger show. But yeah, so all this stuff happening, I haven't had a chance to draw the comic, so it's been a while.
And remind me, what's the name of that musical project? Because I read it earlier and I thought it was like the coolest sounding name ever.
See, it's funny because I love the name. Isabel and my nephew think it's too long, but they don't get it. I'm like, you kids today. It's Abdul Lateef and the Distraction Machine.
The
You know, it's
distraction
like
machine. And I like it. I like with the Abdul Lateef distraction machine, it has a beat to it, you know? Like it has a rhythm when you say it out loud. It's amazing. It's a really fucking good name. I love it.
thank you. the name comes from because in the story they haven't shown it in the comic, but in the earlier days of like actually because the video game takes place before the comic. The video game happens in the 7 Year War against the undead. We call them feeders, right? So
Hmm.
the video game happens there, and a distraction machine is just something somebody can whip up together that makes a lot of sound. You throw it and it distracts, and all the feeders go towards it. And it's funny because we were watching Walking Dead recently, and what's his name? Daryl does that with a clock, with a timer. He just turns a timer and throws it, and then it goes off, and all the zombies go towards it. That's the simplest distraction machine you could ever have,
Right,
But
right,
in our story, people kind of tinker around and make them. And in the community, in the story of the game, in the surviving community, they have a person in there called a distractor. And when they go out on missions, he kind of makes these rhythms and sounds. He's kind of like the Pied Piper of the undead. So he kind of makes these sounds and stuff and lures them into traps or off of cliffs and stuff. And then when he comes back to the community, they celebrate a victory by having a musical performance, and he tells stories and stuff. So he's the distractor. Like he distracts feeders, but he also distracts people from like the gloom and doom of the world. So that's
right.
where it comes from. The band is based on the game, which is based on the comic, and they all kind of work together, or at least that's the plan.
And I think that's brilliant. Like in our times, like you have to think about like a project, not just like a book, or it's more like a universe that you're building. It has to
Yeah,
be like
exactly.
cross media. It has to be like a video game or a board game or like it can't just be like this single like comic in your hands. And I think like the fans dig it too. Like when you're into something, like you want to know like every little part of that world. And
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Um, I don't know if you know Ali. Do you know Ali Carpentier, the artist of Far Out?
No, I don't think so.
It's the cowboy robot comic book that came out.
Wait a minute. I think I might know. Okay, so hold on. How do Oli
Ali Carpentier, Carpenter.
Carpentier. Oli Carpentier, professional artist, deviant art.
Because
Oh yeah. Of course I know his work. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
he's one of my good friends, and he just joined in the chat. So salut Ali.
Oh, what's going on, man? Yeah,
And
no, I love his work. It's great.
the thing is, like, his world, especially, like, could totally be a board game, a video game. It could be like
For
a.
sure.
It's really like it lends itself to that kind of world building. It could be like a
Mm-hmm.
cartoon, and that's like when that's how I feel like when you have a really strong concept is if you can like pitch it everywhere and it still makes sense. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like we were talking about Batman earlier, like that's what fascinates me about that concept is like you can do like this really dark psychological drama, and you can also do a kids show, and they both work, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the Adam West version works as well as the Arkham Asylum games. It's crazy to think about that. So I'm not sure if Azile would be a good cartoon for children because it's pretty violent.
Yeah.
but
Well, the thing about the yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
you could make really awesome toys out of him, like with the characters and their equipment, their bikes and everything like that.
Yeah. It'd be so much fun. Yeah, I love it.
So you're not watching on YouTube right now, right? Aren't you?
No, I'm looking at you through the messenger, but I can look
Right.
at you through. Yeah, if you do that though, there'll be a delay.
Yeah. So that's why like I'm not facing you because I'm drawing at the same time that we're talking. But I'll switch it up to
Cool. I'm gonna
you,
start drawing.
and maybe you can show us like what you're doing right now.
I'll show you. I'll show you what I've got on the Photoshop.
Right.
Um, yeah. Well, let's open a couple windows just to show what I'm working on. I'm just gonna wait. Get my pad. Let's see here.
Okay, so
See,
there's a couple of questions. Noctis asks, um,
Noctis. As in Noctis
Noct-
from Cyber Noctis or Noctis from LARPs? What's going on?
Noctis from I
Is it
don't know
him?
from what he has an image and it looks like a black metal dude. So
Maybe.
so he asked, "What's the name of Dan that you mentioned earlier?" So he can look his stuff up.
Dan Buller.
Buller.
Buller. He's so good.
Okay,
He's amazing.
there you
He
go.
does so many amazing pieces of work.
And
I'm gonna open up my window here. Uh,
right,
I'm just trying to open up a couple different files to show you what I'm working on. I'm working on video game artwork right now, and it's really intense. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. Hold on a minute. Let me just find this damn thing. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's the wrong window. Shit, hold on. All right, there we go. So yeah,
right.
it's so
So
big of a large.
so this looks like
Yeah, so
almost like a UI or like a menu of some sort.
it is.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. This is actually from the game. The game is called Distraction Machine, and like I said, in the game, you're building a music box. Actually, what happens is that the distractor's gone missing, and the community has found you. It turns out the distractor saved your life because there was a we call them a frenzy. When you have like Walking Dead calls it a herd. Other films call them hordes, but in our story, zombies are feeders, so we call a group of feeders a frenzy. So a frenzy of feeders kind of descended on this area, and the distractor kind of lured them away and saved your life. And the community saves you, going, "Hey, the distractor's gone missing, but apparently you have some music skill. He used to make music with this music box. Now it's like we need someone to do it, and look, you're the only guy." So that's kind of the story. It kind of goes from there.
Wow.
So yeah, so I'll get back to that. So this thing here is part of the UI for the machine. This is a control board, and it's basically like that. So there's a play button, right? You play, press stop, and that little thing here it folds up so that it goes away. But I'll show you another image that makes it a little more clearer. Let's see here. We get this open sesame. Right. Oh, that's not it. What the heck? Okay, yeah, the background isn't the best background, but it's oh, that's not what I want to do at all. Yes, okay. So yes, this
Okay. Wow. Yeah. 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 That's like the whole menu for like your equipment and stuff like that.
yeah. Hold on, I'm just gonna do this outside of Photoshop. Oh no, I can't. Hold on. Sorry. Stand by. I'm just gonna cheat just so you can see what's happening. But yeah, this is like one of the screens in the game, or like we're still working on it in terms of how it's going to look. This is not the final look,
Right.
but it's getting closer to what we. Oh, yeah, there we go. What is happening and why? Science. Okay, cool. Yeah, so here you see. Ooh. Oh, I love technology. It always works. God,
I'd like to say like tonight is a
there you go.
special night where technology isn't on our side, but for me it's always like that.
Right? Oh my gosh. So there you go. Yeah. So this is like, for example, this is the music box here on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And right now there are three instruments in there. There's a Lathelium, the little Bite Carp, the top left corner. The bottom right corner is a cooler drum, and then there's a rim drum. And I have all three of these instruments here in the studio. So when you switch back, I'll show you that I've made these based on instruments I've actually built.
Yeah.
But the idea is that with chains and gears, there's a little baton here. You turn the crank, and then it plays music like a music box.
Right.
And
Right.
on the right, you have music sheets, and each music sheet corresponds to an instrument, and there's a pattern on there. So that UI you saw earlier is on the top right. That's like the stop, the press play and stop. And the systems menu on the top left, you can navigate between going to the composer or the inventory. So we're just building that out, You know, um, this is a shot of like another part of the UI where the character is coming to talk to you in the story. And the idea is that like everything is a chronicle. It's being the story is being retold. And Isabel actually came up with the idea because you look at a lot of zombie or post-apocalyptic games, and when you want to have a UI, it's always like a journal or a diary with old
Right.
yellow paper,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it looks great. But everyone does that. And
Hmm.
so Isabel was like, "Yeah, it'd be cool if you had like pieces of wood and metal and boards hanging from walls and stuff, and that's your chronicle." I'm like, yo, that's nuts. So I figured, okay, let's make this kind of bike mechanical system where boards fold out and open, and there's pieces of paper with words on them and stuff like that. So that's kind of the idea behind the look of the UI in the game,
Right.
and the game is the UI. So this is a part of the game. Actually, it's a little bit of a dollhouse situation, but
Yeah.
this is part of the game where there's people called followers, and they basically go on missions for the community, but they'll bring you back parts for your machine, right? If you make a request.
Yeah.
So the info board back comes back again here, where you have oh, okay, well, if you go, just to give you a quick idea, so you go to the followers den, and it's kind of like a dollhouse. Everything is the idea is that everything's kind of made from paper. So you open up the dollhouse here, and inside is a follower. And this goes, "Hello, follower. Well, hello there. Hello. I see a teddy bear on the bed. Very nice, very nice." So, you know,
There's you make me laugh, but I mean there is a lot of detail in that. Like it's
yeah,
amazing.
I mean, actually, this is just a placeholder. Like, this is actually from issue 7, but I just use it as a placeholder. Like, I'm going to redraw it because when you get into the a little too close, it looks a little rough.
But
I want,
but this
you know,
part isn't. You're not going to be able to play this part, right? The main
oh no, this is
gameplay is the rhythm game, right?
no, no, but this is like in the game, like you're gonna get a chance to explore your community. Like
Right.
you're gonna visit people to talk to, and in the game, you're gonna come to this window here. You're gonna come to this building. That wall opens up. There's a follower inside. The UI pops up, and it shows you like her profile. Oh, her name is Kira. You know,
Right.
and oh, I have that here. Yeah. So yeah, this is a part of the game that you play, and
Huh.
and from here you send them on missions, and they go and get you stuff,
Right.
and then they come back, and you have more instruments to work with in making your machine. So yeah, there's like we're right now we've been developing the game for about a year now. So we've just been like working out how everything works together, how if it makes sense and stuff like that. Like just to give you an idea, the comparison, and like it's a bit different from comics because in the comic book you just draw the comic and it's done.
Yeah.
In video games, you're iterating, you're always trying to improve it and make it better. And so yeah, so I just want to show you an example of like what the game looked like before and what it looks like now. Um, it was really messy. I mean, still kind of. I don't want to say messy now, but there's a lot of things to kind of figure out. But you like that? Oh, I'm trying to see what you're seeing. What are you seeing? You're seeing nothing. Hold on.
Yeah. I'll just let me know when you're ready. I'll just switch my drawing while you find your thing. I I
Yeah. Oh
I,
my god.
I just did started a kind of zombie samurai because we were talking about that. I'll try to
Ooh, nice.
maybe include Michael Keaton with wings in the background or something.
Nice. So that now you can see it. Cool. So you see the top image.
Right.
That's kind of where the game looked like a while back, and it was like it's still very very rough looking, and there's a lot going on. And so my idea was to try to kind of simplify things a little bit. Like this music box has like nine spaces, and it's got a bunch of instruments. But when we want to start the game, we want to make it simple. So instead of like 9 spaces, we'll make it 4.
Right.
So that way you only have 4 to work with, and things are a little clearer and punchier in this version that we have now. And
Yeah.
even from here, we'll do play tests and see what works and what doesn't, and maybe even simplify it even more.
But what I really
So
like about it is, although like you can feel it's a drawing, because I
mhm.
feel like that a big studio would make it like like CGI or 3D or whatever. but I like the
Right.
fact that it's a bit rough, it's a bit dirty. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's the whole. I've always like, I collect concept art books from film,
Right.
and I always love seeing like the really rough kinetic lines. And it's got a lot of energy, and then sadly, like or even the comic book, when you see an artist, they've done like really rough lines, and then when they kind of finalize it with ink, a lot of that energy is gone.
Right.
It's tight, it looks crisp, but a lot of the energy is gone, which is why I like your work. Even though you ink it, you still keep that rough kind of kinetic look.
Yeah.
It's a rough kind of like feel to it. So it's a lot of fun to play with that.
Yeah. Have you talking about art books, video game art books, and movie art books? Um, do you know the artist Brendan McCarthy?
Brendan McCarthy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like I discovered him recently. He made the concept art for Mad Max Fury Road,
Oh
but
yes, I have that book.
the thing that's amazing about that is like even though like I love it, I love concept art in video games and movies, but they have this aesthetic that is kind of always kind of similar because it's trying to emulate film, right? So it's trying to be
Right, right,
realistic and like with
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
different kinds of tricks with Photoshop, but you can kind of spot like, oh, they put textures there, or oh, they drew on
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah,
3D
yeah.
model or whatever. But him, it
Mhm.
was you could feel it was like pen and ink on paper, and like
Mm.
acrylics, and it was like dirty concept art for a movie, and that's so so refreshing, like so rare. And the guy is just like
Yeah.
the guy's a genius. Like the amount of detail, and it kind of reminds me of what you showed me right there.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I should check him out for sure.
Like that
Yeah, no,
that
it's
dirtiness. Well, I don't have it yet. I want to buy it, but the art book of Fury Road, like you have a lot of his
yeah.
drawings in there, and it looks amazing.
No, yeah, it's great, man. It's awesome. It's amazing.
It's a good movie too.
But yeah, yeah, no, man, it's one of the best. I love the fact that George Miller did Happy Feet.
Yeah,
I'm like, let me do this children's film right quick, and let me come back to my own genre that I started, and let me show all the copycats how it's done. And
right,
he just because like when Fury Road came out, he put to shame every single post-apocalyptic film that's come out since Mad Max.
right.
Like
That's true.
he redefined his own, yeah, he redefined his own style. Like it's just it's a masterpiece. That film, it's so good.
And what I find also like really interesting about it is like even though the plot is could be said in a sentence, I think
Hmm.
the storytelling is really powerful because yeah, it's not like complicated, but simple doesn't mean easy. And
Right.
the amount
Yeah.
of themes that he approaches in that movie, like about feminism and the place of women in
Hmm.
our society and how like they're objectified, and how
Hmm.
old women try to reclaim and build their own society, like stuff that like
Yeah,
that,
man.
like you usually don't get that in a summer blockbuster, like that
No, you don't.
level of reflection and of like intelligence. and
Yeah, for real.
and the thing that's brilliant is like I'm sure that there's a lot of people that love that movie that didn't even get that, like that didn't even
Hmm.
get that layer. But for the rest of us, like it's amazing. It's brilliant. And that's the
Yeah,
other
no.
thing. Like I wanted to talk to ask you because you're doing something special. Like you're doing something really important with your work. Is you're trying to give a voice to people that don't usually have one, and you're trying to, I guess, uh, I don't know how to say this because I'm translating in French in my head, but try to uh, make others profit from your stories telling, your story building.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Can you possibly help me out and try to rephrase that in a better way? Because like that was horrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, no, but like, no, no, you explained. I understand what you meant. Yeah, no, a lot of my work. Um, I think one of the things that drives me is that the work I do is bigger than me
Hmm.
and bigger than myself. Because I feel that I need to be the example in a lot of ways of like, yo, there are a lot of there are a lot of marginalized groups who get really okay. Sorry, I'm gonna rewind a bit. You know how people will go, oh, it's just a movie, lighten up. Oh, it's just a joke, lighten up. Oh, it's just a TV show. It's just a joke, And a lot of people that say that either they don't know or they're faking it or whatever. But people, it's obvious that media dictates how we view the world.
Yeah.
And comedies will have like life lessons in them. Kids shows teach you things. So when you have images that are shown to you over and over again your entire life, they kind of get stuck in your head,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm gonna go a little dark here, but if I say the word pimp and you close your eyes and you think of what a pimp looks like, you're not gonna think of a white guy.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like media teaches us things, and it's not necessarily the truth. I mean, not to say there aren't black pimps, but my point is that like there's certain images, particularly with black people, because that's my experience, where we're always seen in a negative light. Where the thug, where the drug dealer, where the pimp, where the bad guy. The darker black guy is the bad guy, but the lighter black guy is a good guy. Like
Right.
it gets deep. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I noticed these things as I grew up, and as a kid. You remember Total Recall
Yeah.
with Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
right? And there was a character. There was a cab driver. Remember, he's like, "I got 5 kids to feed."
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
that guy?
Yeah.
He was hilarious, but he was a really bad stereotype, you
Mm.
know. And for me, when I was a kid, I was always like, "Where can I see myself in this show? Like, how am I represented? Where am I?" And I'm always disappointed. And then one day,
And
I saw
actually, that
Ghostbusters.
guy turns out to be a bad guy too, right?
Yeah, exactly. He
Yeah.
did eat his kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is that when I saw Ghostbusters for the first time, and I saw Winston Zedmore, he wasn't a caricature, and it really stuck with me. And I figured, oh, if I ever do my own stories, I want to be able to like, show more than just a caricature of black people, and black women and black men and gay people and trans people and you know the media just has a lot of negative depictions. So for me, my job is always to kind of represent a lot of different uh, communities and cultures as best as I can in my stories. And if it's outside of my lived experience, it's important for me to research it.
Yeah.
Like any good writer, it's like if I'm going to talk about a person that's outside of my lived experience, number one, is it my story to tell? And if it's in this context where I'm telling a story with multiple characters and this character's history of his culture is important to the story, I need to do my research to ensure I'm not misrepresenting that culture or those people.
Yeah.
So, all that to say is that it makes a difference. The media we consume, the images we absorb, it makes a huge difference in how people are perceived in society. So that's always been my bag, is like the kind of work. I go in schools. I go. I went to the HalCon. That was great. The Halifax Comic Con, and I didn't think of it. But I said I looked at the convention. I was like, I'd love to go to Halifax. And I reached out to them and I go, hey, I've got this presentation called whitewashing in media and ways to obliterate it from the face of the earth. Would you be down for me to come down there and do this workshop? And they were like, yes, And I was talking specifically about Scarlett Johansson doing Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
Remember that abomination?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
You
was
know?
that was a hard
It was
pill to swallow.
Yeah, it was brutal and horrible and everything that was wrong with everything. So yeah, it's for me, it's really important to like talk about those things and try to do it in a way where like, because I'm kind of used to these topics, so I got to remember that not everyone understands the terms. Not only that, but everyone learns in their own way. If you look at me 10 years ago, I'm I'm not the same guy I am today. We all learn in our own way, in our own pace. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm trying to point things out about the things that we've been used to all our lives.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like when we're used to those type of images, we don't even notice them. Like
Yeah, man.
for me, and it's so strange because like I'm in the kind of a tricky spot because when I was a kid, I was heavily marginalized because I was an artist growing up in like more of a place where artists weren't really big, like in the countryside, you know.
Sure, sure.
And
Yeah, yeah,
so I'd get picked up on a lot, and comics and drawing and art was my refuge, you know.
yeah.
But when I needed courage or, you know, like self motivation, I'd turn to comics and I'd see Spider Man. So I would recognize myself in that and he would inspire me. But I can't even imagine like being a black kid and you try to turn yourself to art and to heroes, and all you're seeing are these white guys, and if there's a black guy, he's either like a stereotype or you know, like a really non-essential character or a bad guy.
Yeah,
And
man.
and that's what I find like so beautiful right now. I can feel that that's starting to change, you know, so that more
Yeah.
kids can like see themselves. And like I have no idea like if the movie's gonna be good, but I saw the trailer for Shang-Chi, the new
Yeah,
Marvel
yeah, yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and like I think it looks fucking badass. We'll see if the story's good, but like I can see that
Chances are
character
it will
like
be
suddenly inspiring like a lot of kids, and you know, like
total.
especially I think for like heroes like that. Like we need to have diversity. Like I'm having a hard time to say this. I don't know how to phrase it well, but like I feel that we're starting like a new phase in like art and mainstream culture, and I think it's beautiful. And I think it's awesome that you're having always that in mind while you create. You know that it's how do I say this? That it's honest. You know, it's not forced.
Yeah, I mean, and you feel that when people talk about these things, like you can tell, you can tell when it's fake. Like you can tell when people are just doing it, like for brownie points.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and just going back to Ghost in the Shell, some of the people, some of tonight's viewers might be confused. They're like, yo, like it's Scarlett Johansson, she's an actress. Why can't she play anyone she wants? That's what an actress does. Yes, this is true. That's her argument, but it's not really. You got to dig a little deeper than that because you got to realize. Perfect example. Name me 10 East Asian Hollywood stars, just that right there. Number one, name that.
Yeah.
Name any who are as popular as Brad Pitt or The Rock or Angelina Jolie who don't do martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Can't name 10. And the thing is that like, sure, Scarlett, in a perfect world, you can play anyone you want. But in an industry where specific people don't get the roles, don't get the good roles, um, aren't seen, and then the minute an Asian character comes up and they do an adaptation where a white woman takes the place of that character, the Asian actor that could have been like the major, because I like how they didn't call her Major Kusanagi, they just called her the major.
Yeah.
That actor's out of a job, and the thing is, it denies, in this specific case, for example, it denies East Asian actors upward mobility in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you deny an Asian actor a role because Scarlett took it, that actor can't be in that film. They can't eventually become a director because we know a lot of actors become directors, they become producers, they move up and they start making big decisions. So when you have like white actors playing people of color in film, all those people of color don't have those jobs, they don't have those opportunities, and the little kids that are freaking out over sorry, what is it called? Because I
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, there you go. Thank you. All the Asian kids looking at that going, yo, I see myself as a superhero now. They get deprived that if a white actor does an Asian character.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's it's not just people complaining or whining. There's a real reason behind why it's a problem with
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, well, if Black Panther, what if I had a white guy play like Malcolm X? Like, really? Did you just say that? Did you compare Black Panther to a real person? What's wrong with you? Oh my God.
But I think that just speaks to how white guys are so used to seeing themselves that every
That's it.
time there's something, there's a switch or there's diversity, they notice it right away. Like, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa! Like,
Right.
but like
Why
if you
isn't it
look
us
at,
all the time? What's going on here?
and I mean, like, I love a lot of the Marvel movies, but it's kind of eerie
Oh my
to
God.
look. Yeah, exactly. Like they're all big white guys, like blue eyes, and like the and
Is it
it's
like,
not
it's,
it's not the actor's fault because you look at the heroes on paper and they were like that too,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
for sure.
kind of like that's the eerie part. It's like, oh yeah, like culture has been built like by the system that kind of denied. And I think what's beautiful is like one of my heroes is Jack Kirby, and
Mm-hmm.
he
An
created
actual
most.
actual thought.
Yeah, and he created
Yes,
most
he
of
killed us.
those characters, but like he always tried to in his work to include like people he was neighbors with, like not just to put an
Mm-hmm.
Asian guy or an Indian guy, but like you could tell those were his neighbors, those were his friends, and he he always tried to make that in his comics, and
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes it got cut out. Like I know with the Black Panther thing, like the first editorial suggestion was to give him a mask so we can't see the color of his skin, and that's crazy for me. Like that today, like and that's what I find beautiful is like I'm feeling that we're having a discussion now where that couldn't fly by as easily as in the 60s, so
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
means that like even though like we still have a lot of work to do, like there is some hope, there is some like small evolution that's happening.
Yeah, no, there is progress is happening, and it's and like you were like the thing that you what were wanted to express before, it's that there's a movement now, right now that I've noticed happening in media in terms of black content. Like when Black Panther came out and destroyed every single box office expectation,
Mm,
it killed that myth that black actors don't sell because they were like 'cause Hollywood always had this, oh, we can't have a black lead, doesn't sell overseas, and like Black Panther destroys that. And then like the movie Get Out, which was just like incredible
yeah.
and made so much money, and then This Is Us. I don't know, have you seen Raising Dion?
Which one?
Raising Dion. It's
No, I
a
haven't
it
seen
was
that
a
one yet.
comic book. It was a comic book about a single mother, a black mother, raising a child with superpowers,
Yeah.
and they turned it into a Netflix series.
Yeah, I've heard about it because my name's in it, Dion. A lot of people
You
like
know what I mean?
was like, "There's a show about you. It's called Raising Dion. It's about your childhood."
Yeah, not exactly. But
Not
yeah,
really.
I mean, all that to say is that there's been like a huge movement of like black art uh, and also black stories in media, and they've been making a lot of money. So and drawing a lot of attention. So that's a good thing. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of, like you said, and I agree. Of course, there's a lot of things that need to be improved. But there are more black creators out there, more black-owned studios. Because, like I said, we need to tell our own stories.
Right.
We need to be able to we know our own stories. Who better to tell them than us?
Right.
So, yeah, there's a movement going on. It's beautiful.
Right. And we also like as a white dominant culture need to stop being so fucking insecure every time there's a new creator that comes out. Like he's not gonna steal your shit. You'll still have your your fucking Captain America. Like, don't worry, it's all gonna be fine.
Yeah, yeah. There's other things too, like yeah,
like
exactly.
like Get Out doesn't take anything away from your favorite movies from the 80s. It's just like a new vision, and it's
Yeah,
yeah, and
exactly.
that movie is amazing too. I mean, and
Ooh,
I
yeah.
really liked his second one too, Us. I thought
This is
like,
yeah. Us is like creepy as shit. Yeah,
oh
man.
yeah, that's my kind of movie.
Yeah. Have you seen Black Summer?
Yes, the zombie
Wow.
thing.
Yeah, it's so good.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's so different from everything else. And
exactly.
that's what's really fun when you see new zombie stories that come out and it's like now the challenge is okay, how can we tell this story a bit differently?
Right.
Les Affamés. Am I saying it properly? God damn it. Les
Yeah, Les
Affamés.
Affamés de Robin Aubert. Yeah,
That movie was so good.
yeah.
It was really like the tone, the pace. The black guy died first. That was some bullshit. Other than that, uh, other than that, it was such a good movie.
Yeah.
And so this Train to Busan, Alive. There's so many amazing new stories that are being told with the twist of zombies that are like it's exciting.
Yeah. There's someone that mentioned Lovecraft Country on
Oh
HBO.
yeah, oof, woo, that was so good. Wow. That was another level, man. And that's the thing. There's just more and more really fun, creative stuff coming out that's changing and challenging. What we know of like storytelling and what stories can be told or should be told.
Right. And that's also like I want to bring it back to the video game, but like that's also like missing in that industry as well. Like we need to get more diversity in video games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because like
Yeah,
really on the top of my head, like name me like a iconic black video game character, and it's not easy. Like
it's hard. It's hard.
yeah,
I mean, it's starting slowly, but it's really hard. I mean, I know a couple, and I can't even think of them myself right now.
yeah,
You know, it's just like that's a problem. Like I can say Nathan Drake, I can say Ash
right,
from Infamous. I
mm,
can say Crash Bandicoot. That's different. He's an animal. But
yeah,
Mario. But yeah, I mean, like, there's like white dudes. It's mostly white dudes. Um, but yeah, it's really hard to kind of come up with people of color as main characters in games. But it's happening more. More people of color are making games, writing games. So it's changing, and it's good. It
yeah.
needs to.
So you were saying that you've been working on the game for a year now, about a year.
Yeah, yeah. I have a team of seven right now.
Wow.
I have a game designer. I've got a narrative designer. We got a programmer, a UX person. We have a project manager, and we have another programmer on board. And so yeah, man. I mean, the team changed a bit since last year. Like some people like left, or we had new people come on board. But we're still in development. Um, we're hoping to have a prototype sometime in the summer, and we're gonna have play tests. We'd love to have people come and play test it. But our goal is to get production funding, and then make the game and put it out, probably sometime in 2023 or 2024, which sounds like the future. Future sounds like,
Yeah, I
but
know.
yeah,
I know.
right. We're into Blade Runner. And we don't have flying cars and
Yeah,
some
exactly.
bullshit.
And
But
are you guys thinking about socially financing it again, or like
we
having a
might do a Kickstarter at some point, but the idea is for us to really get a publisher on board.
right?
We still might do public. I mean, running a Kickstarter is a lot of fun, you know. And if anyone out there wants to do a Kickstarter for a video game, for example, it's it my from my personal experience, it's more about don't count on the Kickstarter to fund your game. Count on your Kickstarter to build your audience, and it's more like it's the icing on the cake. Your game is already done. You want extra features. You want to add more stuff, and your Kickstarter is kind of the way to do it. I mean,
Right.
a much bigger story, or much longer discussion, but that's just to put it out there. If anyone has any questions about crowdfunding, let me know. I'd be happy to answer some questions. I'm not the pro, but I can tell you my experience at least.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I did too. And the thing I know is like you gotta be surrounded by like a full team that will only do that, you know. It's really hard. Like, and I heard some stories of like a guy that's just like, I don't know, but it's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna like get money, do my comic, and ship it to everyone. But it's so much more complex than that. It's
Yeah, yeah.
and
Wow.
it's hard too because it's not necessarily like a full-time job for a year, but it's a full-time job for like the first month, and then the last couple of like, let's say like 3-4 months, and just to like track everybody down, make sure like everybody has the same address, and after that like shipping, like the actual physical work of shipping the stuff. And like I,
Yeah.
I was always like super lucky because I always worked with people that took care of that. So for like Alice, it was François that took care of all of it. And the thing is, like, they're not paid for that. Like, of course, the publisher
Yeah.
will have a cut, but like, those were people that came to help my project. Like, it wasn't like their job, or so that's another thing. Like, you gotta have in mind if you want to do social financing, is just having like the structure and be ready for people to come and work on your project. You know, that's a big commitment.
Yeah, exactly.
People, I think people are talking about something on the chat. They're saying, I think they're searching for Lovecraft Country together because they're like, it's on HBO, but where can we stream it? I haven't.
Torrents.
Yeah, yeah. I can't.
Sorry, something in my throat.
All
But
right.
yeah, no, Lovecraft is
So
amazing. It's so.
I've been focusing too much on my drawing. I'm gonna switch back to you for a
Oh,
second.
yeah, let me see what you're doing, man. I'm just kind of like throwing together a scene that I was envisioning, like in the game. Like at one point, I was like, I think I was in a car going down the street. I was looking at the buildings, and just the parallax of the buildings moving. It was such a mesmerizing, kind of hypnotic look, and I thought it'd be so cool because in the game, you have different types of distraction machines in different places. Like, okay, maybe they need to clear out an area, so you build a distraction machine in the middle of a warehouse where you want to clear out. So and the background might be moving. So I'm just trying to imagine a background of buildings passing by with your distraction machine in the foreground because it's on wheels or something. So like just to give you a better idea of what I mean, I will show you what is going through my mind if I can find the images. Show me now. Where are they? Oh, wait. Oh, that's not it. Wait. Uh, oh my gosh. Okay. Go here, and then I go here, and then I go. Oh wait, I did not right place. Wait. I go there, my friend. Wait, my friend. My friend. Wait, my friend. My friend. Wait, my friend. Wait. Music box. Music box. Ah, no, that's not it. Let's try Music Box 4.1. Ah, okay, very good. Excellent, yes. Right. So we put it here, we put that in there, you can see that here, and we slap this over here. Yes. No. Ah, very good. Excellent, yes.
Which
So,
brings me to my next my next subject. You're also a voice actor.
yeah, who would have thought clowning around in school would pay my bills? I mean, right now our project, everyone gets paid, which is great because you can't work on a video game without having any funding. You need to pay your team,
Right.
and I'm really happy and fortunate. But and I work full time on the game, like and the company stuff, so I'm happy about that. But I also do voiceover because it's quick, fun, easy money, and I'm an actor member now, so like I'm on the Division. Like I'm a few characters on the Division. I'm on a couple other Ubisoft games where I'm just like background characters. But yeah, it's
I,
fun. I just did an audition today. It was a lot of fun. I can't talk about it, but I did three different versions of the same. Like one character, I did like three different versions. This is giving them a kind of range of stuff.
right.
Hopefully, one of them they like. It's a kids show, and it's really cool. So I really hope I get it. Um, but yeah, no, the voiceover is a lot of fun, and I'm really lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, I saw some videos of you where you were just like growling, like
Yeah,
I don't know exactly what it was for, but like some creature or some beast, and like I actually got chills like listening to you. I was like, holy shit! Like a human body can make that kind of noise because it was unfiltered. Like the camera was right in the
yeah,
recording booth. Like it wasn't with added effects or anything. So
yeah. That was a Ubisoft game. I'm not sure I can talk about it, so I won't say what game it is. But it was a Ubisoft game, and it was like these kind of monster type characters.
right.
Uh, and I had a voice director, which was really good. I had a voice director in the mix, and he was like giving me proper direction about how I could do the character. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. At one point during COVID, Ubisoft brought a portable booth to my apartment, and we hooked up the Ethernet cable, and I did the voiceover at my house over a couple days, and that was
Wow.
really cool. I love
Wow.
going to their studio, but the fact that they brought it to my house was like really fun.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing obviously some zombie noises for this game, one or two characters, because that's another thing that's kind of important is making things accessible to people, right? So having voiceover, it'll be more accessible for people that might not be reading or might be visually impaired.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to see how accessible we can make our game.
Yeah, I remember when the Last of Us came out, seeing a video of
Mm,
like a visually impaired guy, and he just started crying. And again, it brings us back to our point earlier. Like when you see and your vision is fine, you don't care about that stuff. But
mm,
when you see like what it can bring to someone that's always had trouble like playing games and that has dysfunction, because I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was just like highlighting some characters or some enemies, or like making it more easy to differentiate enemy and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember the reaction and saying like, wait, if Naughty Dog can do this, like, how come all games don't do this? Like, this should be like
yeah.
like a feature like that's always in every game, like subtitles for movies, you know?
Yeah, I mean that. I mean, Naughty. Just to keep in mind, Naughty Dog is a AAA studio.
That's
They
right.
have the budget to make a game of that caliber um, playable for someone who is visually impaired. Not every studio has those resources and money to do that.
Right.
It would be better if they did, and I think those tools would be more and more readily available. Like that, there's certain types of innovation that only sorry, there's certain types of innovation that can only be led by studios that have the money to make that stuff,
That's right.
and then eventually the barrier goes down. It's cheaper, and more studios can do it.
Right.
But yeah, actually, that they for I don't know what video you saw. I didn't see that video, but there was a video. They had a visually impaired consultant on that game, and you can play that game being totally visually impaired, like without being able to see. They have a mode where you can actually play the whole game, and that blows my mind because that game is hard as shit when you can see everything.
Yeah.
So the fact that they managed to do that for someone who's visually impaired and they figured out, where how does it work in terms of sound. I'm sure you go wear headphones, so you have a certain kind of stereo sound that gives you a better idea of where enemies are or what things are happening. But
Right.
it's incredible. I'm so happy that they did that.
And are you like a gamer? Do you play a lot of games?
I honestly I haven't had time to play.
Right.
I have a lot of games. I'm just like any other gamer. I have a lot of games in my queue I haven't played yet for years. They're just sitting there. I'm like, damn. But when I get into it, I get into it. And for me, I really enjoy stories with a deep narrative. Our game has a narrative, and I really appreciate that. I like getting into a game. It's a great games are great for storytelling. It's one of the major reasons why I'm doing video games because it's another level. You have the readers interacting with the world. They're part of the world. They are the world. So I don't know if you know
I,
Bioshock. That was like the first AAA game I ever played,
yeah. Yeah, and
and that
I'm
stuff is
exactly like you. Like, what draws me in is the narrative aspect. Even though, like, sometimes like the game can be uh, only gameplay focused. Like, what I mean is like I especially appreciate games when the narrative is told through the gameplay, not just cutscenes or. So I'm thinking about like stuff like Half Life. The Half Life
right.
games, like it's not like playing a video game and then you get like a little movie. It's like you are the story is told while you play, and I think that's incredible. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, it's good.
Bioshock is kind of that way too, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, and the thing about Bioshock is just that they built this incredible world, and they gave the world a story, and then they plop the character in the middle of that world, and
Right.
that character has their own story that ties into the rest of the world. And I thought that it's like the more robust you build a world, the easier it is to kind of write a story into it. At
Mm,
least that's my take.
right.
But yeah, I know that game is top notch, really good.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also like you in the sense that I'm a seasonal game player. Like I play like I find a game, I play it 2 months like full time, and I'm just like obsessed about it, and then I'll stop playing games for like 9 months after that. Like I haven't played a video game in a while right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I gotta get into it more because I have friends that like, hey, come play with us. And I'm like, I actually enjoy playing like one single player games more because, like I said, I love the story.
Yeah, me
But I
too.
mean, playing with people is fun too. Like, definitely, it's a lot of fun to play with people. But I'm just used to playing solo games a little more.
Yeah, there's people reacting to this. Like people love
Oh,
talking about video games. So
yeah,
like Ali Carpentier again says Bioshock is in his like top franchise of all time.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. All three games.
yeah, there's Oli de Reich that says the third Bioshock. I think that was like Infinite or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, he says like it's an amazing story, and I remember like hearing about that one because I only played the first one, and I really liked
Hmm.
it, but I guess it was a time in my life where it was too much time consuming or whatever. Like I didn't get to play the other ones, but I remember that
Hmm.
when Infinite came out, like people were talking about not only the storytelling but the importance of the female character, like the AI, the like she felt like a real character that lived this story with you, and
Right.
that's
Yeah. 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 No, yeah.
that's the kind of thing that interests me in games. Like I love like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus and stuff like that because I get a feel that like there's some real characters that you interact with. It's not just like
Hmm.
staged arrow to the knee kind of characters.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Word.
that was a diss on Skyrim. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, it's great when that kind of work is put into the game to really bring out some life. It's interesting because, like earlier when I was working on our game, I was working with a. He's not with us now. He's on another project, but this producer slash programmer. His name is Jalil, and we were working together on this game like in the earlier days when I was trying to find funding for it, and we were like talking about how the characters work within the world and the rules and how everything works and how the story is told and how we're going to write them. And I was at the same time I was watching Westworld. I don't know if you've watched Westworld yet.
Yeah,
I hope you did.
yeah. I watched the
Yeah,
first season.
and I felt like we were Ford and Bernard. We were like creating characters in this world. It felt the same way. It's like, hey, okay, we're going to design this society, and they're living in this community, and they act a certain way, and we were just kind of like being gods. It was just such
Right.
an eerie feeling of creating a living, breathing world that people interact with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, like that's strange because like I hear people saying that about, and I see Ali Daresh right now is commenting like Skyrim, like he played 300 hours in that game.
Yep.
So I kind of dissed
Mm-hmm.
Skyrim earlier, but I totally get it. Like that, someone could lose himself in that world and just like feel free to make his own path and his own story and like get lost in the side quest. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, like it's that's maybe it's about like the time consuming thing. But for me, it's like no, like tell me a story. Like take me by the hand a bit, because if you
Yes,
just
for
like open a
sure.
world to me, that there's something missing for me. But that's totally personal, and I guess you could feel like
Right, right, yeah.
inhabiting a world
I mean,
in different types of games, and I mean it's the user experience that counts in the end, you know.
for sure. It's funny. Some people will say, "Oh, I don't play video games. I don't like video games," and then someone else, another colleague of mine, made a very good point. It's like, well, if someone says that, it just means that there hasn't been a game made for them yet.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
when you think about it's only really been it's opening up more. There's all sorts of different types. It's just like comic books. It's not just superheroes anymore. There's so
Yeah,
many different stories to tell in comics. There's so many different types of game. There's all sorts of types of stories to tell in games, and it's just the possibilities are endless, and it's really fun to explore that.
exactly. It's similar to someone who would say like, "Oh, like I don't really like music." It's like no, it's just cuz you haven't
Yeah, like
found some something
they
that
haven't
you
found the
like.
right sound.
I don't
Yeah,
like books. It's like no, you haven't found your book yet, but it's
exactly.
practically impossible to like hate a medium, a art medium.
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's a very good point. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, man.
We're gearing towards the end of the show. We're not gonna end it right now. I'll just let people, if they have like questions for you or small comments. But we're gonna end soon because I'm really hungry, and I don't know for you, but
So am I.
I still
I'm
have
super hungry.
have a lot of work to do tonight. So,
Yeah, same here.
but in any case, Lateef, thank you so much, man, for doing this with me. And if I want to invite you later this year, would you accept?
Absolutely, man, for sure. This is
Yes.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's like
totally.
that's like a trick question because of course you won't during the live say, "Nah, man, I didn't enjoy this."
No, actually, dude, no, never, ever. What about why? Why would I do that again? I already did it.
Noctis asks, where can we read your comic right now? So I've put your
Most
Twitter and your Instagram links in the description below, but is there like a shop where you can buy them right now or a website?
Yeah, most shops carry it actually. Like crossover comics in St. Henry, off on Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Million Comics. Millennium Comics over on Rivard and Marianne.
I've
What
seen
else?
some also in Hochelaga and Librairie Z.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Librairie Z, Le Boîte à BD in Laval. We actually probably need to catch up with them. It's been a while. I'm sure they need some more comics right now. Um, but yeah, our library omnibus in La Cathédrale has it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
so
he's
yeah,
not
there's
in
a few other.
Montreal. So we keep naming like comic book shops in Montreal. He's
Oh,
not in
okay. Well,
Montreal.
hey, hit us up on yeah, hit us up. Hit us up on the Facebook page. Look up Xyle on Instagram or on Facebook, and we can send some out to you. We can do a little order. Or if you want digital comics, you can go on Cosmologist Comixology,
Comicsology,
and
yeah.
they're there as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll just rewrite the title, and there you go. Cool. So maybe you'll have a new reader. I hope so. I hope you have a
Cool.
new
Yeah, man.
reader. And as
I
for
think we
me,
will.
like I can't wait for number 7 to come out.
Me neither, man. Because like number seven is going to be like there's a lot of really fun stuff to close off like the volume, the chapter one. We plan on doing 3 volumes of the story. Volume two and three will probably be like 1 or 2 books, like thicker books instead of like 7 issues or whatever. Because there are a lot of really cool projects beyond Xyle that I want to do. Like I have a whole universe of stories I want to tell that have nothing to do with Xyle. So I'm looking forward to kind of wrapping Xyle over the next few years and then get to the other stories, which I think you'll like too, because it's all the same universe, but they're different stories.
Okay, awesome, cool.
Yeah,
So thank you everyone for chatting with us and listening to us and enduring my English.
it was
You
great.
were
It was awesome.
people were also very kind. Like nobody started insulting me or
What the
people.
hell, man? Stick to
pe-
your language.
People are nice. I think like
So
everybody's more patient because of the whole pandemic. Like people are like, we get it, we
maybe,
get it. Like
maybe
no pressure. It's okay if you mess up. That's a
it's
feeling that I
okay.
get.
All
Um,
good, man.
so, man,
Well,
thank you so much. It was great talking with you and discovering your universe and your views on comics and music. And my greatest wish would be to when it's gonna be possible to go and have a beer with you, and after that, like
yes.
go to one of your live shows because I really need to see that in person. And
Yeah, man.
I know my girlfriend would really love it too. Like it's exactly her type of art and her type of performance art and everything. So that's awesome. So man, huge hug. Thank you so much for doing this with me, and for all the viewers out there, we'll say until next time. G-
Yes. Thanks so much for having me, man.
goodbye, everybody.